The latest news out of Asia's maritime frontlines raises a simple but powerful question. What changes when a country stops talking about maritime security and starts receiving ships that can actually enforce it? Japan has just committed to providing 5 additional 97-meter Teresa Magbanua-class patrol vessels to the Philippine Coast Guard, turning a long-running partnership into a tangible shift at sea. This is not a ceremonial gesture. It is steel in the water, endurance on patrol, and presence where pressure has been constant. Think of it this way. For years, the Philippines has been asked to stand firm in contested waters with limited offshore assets, often facing larger and more numerous foreign vessels. 2 large patrol ships were never going to be enough for a country with one of the world's longest coastlines and some of the region's most sensitive sea lanes. With this Phase 3 expansion of the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project, financed primarily through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, Manila's fleet of Teresa Magbanua-class vessels jumps from 2 to 7, with deliveries expected between 2027 and 2028. That changes patrol tempo, response time, and credibility overnight. What makes this moment stand out is the strategic context. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, in talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., framed the move as more than capacity building. It is about ensuring that maritime rules are enforced by states that actually sail the waters they claim responsibility for. Unlike short-term donations or symbolic port calls, these vessels are purpose-built for long endurance, law enforcement presence, and sustained operations in rough seas. This is quiet, methodical power projection, the kind Japan prefers and understands. Now compare this with how other countries in Southeast Asia are upgrading their maritime forces. Vietnam and Indonesia are expanding Coast Guard fleets, but often through mixed procurement and slower timelines. Smaller ASEAN states still rely heavily on aging platforms or limited offshore reach. Against that backdrop, the Philippines is suddenly leapfrogging into a different category of maritime enforcement, not through escalation, but through persistence. Seven large offshore patrol vessels mean continuous coverage, rotation without gaps, and the ability to show up consistently rather than episodically. At its core, this is why the news matters. Ships do not shout, they do not issue statements. They simply arrive, patrol, and stay. And in today's Indo-Pacific, staying power is a strategy. Japan's move signals that it understands this reality and that it is willing to help the Philippines meet pressure at sea with presence, professionalism, and permanence. At the center of this expansion is a ship design that quietly does a lot of heavy lifting, the Teresa Magbanua class. These are not symbolic hulls meant for photo ops. They are 97-meter multi-role response vessels engineered for long, grinding patrols, exactly the kind of missions the Philippine Coast Guard is being forced to run more frequently in today's maritime environment. Based on Japan Coast Guard Kunigami-class designs, but tailored for Philippine conditions, these ships reflect a philosophy Japan has refined for decades. Endurance first, reliability always. The numbers explain why these vessels matter. At roughly 97 meters in length and 2,260 gross tons, they sit firmly in the large offshore patrol category. With a range exceeding 4,000 nautical miles and more than 15 days of endurance at sea, they are built to stay on station without constant port calls. A top speed of around 24 knots allows them to respond quickly when needed, but their real advantage is persistence, being present day after day, week after week, in waters where absence is often interpreted as weakness. Operationally, this class is designed for the full spectrum of Coast Guard missions. They support search and rescue, maritime law enforcement, logistics and resupply, and humanitarian assistance, often simultaneously. That versatility matters for a country like the Philippines, where a single patrol can involve disaster response one week and sovereignty enforcement the next. These ships are not about escalation. They are about control, continuity, and professional presence. Crucially, this is not an untested platform. The first two vessels, BRP Teresa Magbanua, MRRV 9701, and BRP Melchora Aquino, MRRV 9702, are already active with the Philippine Coast Guard. They have taken part in sustained offshore patrols and joint exercises, proving that the design works under real operational pressure, not just in trials or calm seas. Their performance has effectively validated the class and paved the way for the additional 5 hulls. These ships represent something bigger than specifications. They signal a shift from reactive deployments to continuous maritime governance. With 7 Teresa Magbanua class vessels in service, the Philippine Coast Guard gains not just more ships, but the ability to rotate patrols, maintain presence without fatigue, and respond to crises without leaving gaps elsewhere. In today's Indo-Pacific, that kind of quiet, durable capability is exactly what shapes outcomes at sea. The defense relationship between Japan and the Philippines did not emerge overnight. It has been built patiently, deal by deal, year by year, with a clear focus on maritime security. Since 2013, the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project alone has delivered 12 Japanese-built patrol vessels to the Philippine Coast Guard, quietly transforming it from a lightly equipped service into a force capable of sustained offshore operations. Few partnerships in Southeast Asia have produced such concrete, operational outcomes over such a long period. What makes this partnership stand out is its depth. Japan is not only supplying ships, it is also the Philippines' largest bilateral official development assistance partner, blending development finance with strategic security goals. This approach reflects Japan's traditional strength: long-term capacity building rather than short-term signaling. Each vessel, training program, or system upgrade is designed to last decades, not news cycles. Beyond patrol vessels, cooperation now spans crew training, maritime radar systems, information sharing, and regular joint exercises. These are not add-ons, they are force multipliers. Training ensures platforms are used to their full potential. Radar systems extend maritime domain awareness, and exercises build habits of coordination that matter during real-world incidents. Together, they point to growing defense interconnectivity, where Japanese and Philippine maritime forces increasingly operate with shared standards and expectations. In practical terms, this means Japan is no longer just a donor, it is a strategic enabler of Philippine maritime security. And in a region where pressure is applied incrementally and persistently, that kind of steady institutional support may prove more decisive than any single headline-grabbing deployment. Before the latest commitment of 5 new vessels, Japan had already reshaped the operational backbone of the Philippine Coast Guard through a carefully sequenced transfer of patrol ships. The first wave came with 10 44-meter Parola-class multi-role response vessels, which filled a long-standing gap in nearshore and mid-range patrol capability. These ships gave the PCG speed, flexibility, and the ability to respond quickly to maritime incidents that previously stretched its limited resources. The second, and far more consequential step, was the delivery of 2 97-meter Teresa Magbanua class large patrol vessels. These ships pushed the PCG decisively into the offshore domain. With long endurance, greater seakeeping, and the ability to remain deployed for weeks at a time, they enabled sustained patrols deep inside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, where visibility and presence matter most. For the first time, the PCG could maintain extended operations without relying on constant port access or naval support. Together, these Japanese-supplied vessels transformed how the PCG operates. Instead of reacting sporadically to incidents, it gained the capacity to patrol continuously, respond faster, and remain on station longer. In a maritime environment where challenges often emerge far from shore and unfold over days, not hours, this shift has been critical. The success of these earlier ships is precisely why the expansion to 5 additional Teresa Magbanua class vessels is being treated not as an experiment, but as the logical next phase in a proven capability pathway. Out at sea, tension in the South China Sea no longer arrives with dramatic declarations or open conflict. It shows up quietly through close-range maneuvering, blocking actions, water cannons, and prolonged shadowing.
MRRD 4406. You are advised that you are currently sailing inside the Philippines.
For the Philippine Coast Guard, encounters with the China Coast Guard near disputed features have become increasingly frequent and routine. Each incident may appear limited on its own, but together they form a sustained pattern of pressure designed to wear down presence and resolve over time. The imbalance at sea is stark. China operates hundreds of Coast Guard vessels, many of them large, steel-hulled ships capable of long-range, extended offshore operations. In sheer numbers and mass, this fleet outclasses those of Southeast Asian states combined. This numerical dominance allows Beijing to rotate ships constantly, maintain near-permanent coverage, and apply pressure without exhausting its own forces, a classic advantage in gray zone competition. These dynamics are precisely why modern patrol assets matter. Gray zone tactics thrive where presence is thin, endurance is limited, and response times are slow. Large, long-range patrol vessels disrupt that logic. They stay on station longer, rotate without gaps, and make it harder for coercive behavior to go uncontested. In today's South China Sea, deterrence is not about firepower. It is about persistence, visibility, and the ability to show up every single day. Japan's expanding role in Philippine maritime security reflects a deliberate strategic shift, not a temporary adjustment. Under its 2022 national security strategy, Tokyo moved beyond a traditionally restrained posture toward proactive security support, explicitly linking Japan's own safety to stability in surrounding regions. Assistance to partners like the Philippines, especially in maritime law enforcement and domain awareness, fits squarely within this framework. It is defensive in nature, lawful in purpose, and aimed at preventing escalation by strengthening the ability of frontline states to manage pressure on their own terms. Alongside Japan, the United States continues to play a central role. A U.S.-led maritime security program is currently reinforcing the Philippine Coast Guard over a 3-year period, focusing on operational readiness, coordination, and sustainment. This effort complements Japan's hardware-focused contributions by improving how assets are deployed, maintained, and integrated during real-world operations. Equally important are regular joint Coast Guard exercises involving the Philippines, Japan, and the United States. These drills are not symbolic. They build interoperability at the working level, communications, procedures, and command coordination, so that cooperation during incidents is instinctive rather than improvised. Over time, this creates a shared operating culture across maritime agencies. These efforts form a triangular security architecture, quiet, persistent, and practical. Rather than relying on overt military signaling, it emphasizes law enforcement presence, capacity building, and collective resilience. The objective is straightforward: deter coercion, reduce gray zone advantages, and uphold a rules-based maritime order without pushing the region toward open confrontation. The arrival of 5 additional multi-role response vessels, MRRVs, fundamentally changes how the Philippine Coast Guard operates in the West Philippine Sea and across the country's wider maritime zones. Until now, 2 large offshore patrol vessels, no matter how capable, were simply not enough to sustain constant coverage over one of the largest exclusive economic zones in Asia. Gaps were inevitable, rotations were stretched, and presence could not always be maintained where pressure was most intense. With 7 large MRRVs in service, the equation shifts. The PCG will be able to deploy simultaneously across multiple EEZ sectors, maintain continuous presence in contested waters, and still retain flexibility for surveillance, logistics, and search and rescue missions elsewhere. This is less about speed or confrontation and more about endurance, being there consistently without burning out crews or platforms. In maritime security, consistency is leverage. These patrol vessels play a quiet but decisive role in deterring unlawful maritime claims. By increasing persistent presence, they reinforce the Philippines' ability to exercise and enforce its sovereign rights under international law. Gray zone tactics rely on intimidation, fatigue, and the assumption that smaller forces will eventually pull back. Large, visible, and capable patrol ships disrupt that assumption. While these MRRVs are not combat warships, they do not need to be. Their endurance, sensors, and command and control systems make them formidable tools for maritime law enforcement. Every additional day they remain on station reduces the effectiveness of coercive behavior and raises the cost of pressure tactics without escalating to military confrontation. This procurement aligns directly with the Philippines' broader Armed Forces Modernization program, which increasingly prioritizes Coast Guard capabilities, maritime domain awareness, and interoperability with trusted partners. Strengthening the PCG is not separate from national defense. It is a frontline layer of it, especially in a contested maritime environment. Japan's role has been central to closing long-standing gaps. Through official development assistance and security cooperation frameworks, Tokyo has enabled the acquisition of patrol vessels, coastal radar systems, and sustained training support. This approach complements defense modernization by focusing on platforms and capabilities that are legal, defensive, and stabilizing, exactly where the Philippines needs the most reinforcement. Strategically, the implications extend well beyond the delivery of 5 ships. The Philippines gains a stronger deterrence posture in the South China Sea, while Japan-Philippines defense cooperation deepens into a mature, operational partnership. Together with the United States, these efforts strengthen a regional security architecture built on coordination rather than escalation. This cooperation also sends a signal outward. It encourages complementary support from other partners, whether European maritime contributors, U.S. aviation and logistics programs, or future ASEAN collaborations. More broadly, it offers a model for maritime law enforcement partnerships that other Southeast Asian states could adapt to their own needs. Japan's commitment to provide 5 additional Teresa Magbanua-class patrol vessels marks a major milestone in Philippine maritime capability. It reflects growing regional partnerships, a measured response to rising maritime tensions, and a clear shift toward deeper defense collaboration in the Indo-Pacific. More importantly, it strengthens Manila's ability to uphold sovereignty through presence, professionalism, and persistence, contributing not just to national security, but to long-term stability across contested waters.
If you found this analysis valuable, share your perspective in the comments. Your insights help deepen the conversation and sharpen our understanding of evolving regional dynamics. Thank you, and we will see you soon in our next geopolitical discussion.